Hey everybody, this is Mr. Ware's Videos. Thanks for stopping by. Today we're looking at how to solve for literal equations in one step. So before I go into that, I thought I'd go over what a literal equation is. So a literal equation is an equation that includes more than one variable. More than one variable. So anytime you have two unknowns in the same equation that's not the same variable, then you have a literal equation. So here's some examples here, one for area, one for volume, one for surface area. Notice how they have more than one unknown, okay? And you can have numbers included, but it's still a literal equation if you have more than one unknown variable. So let's take a look at a few examples and solve. All right, so here we've got single step literal equations here. And what you want to be focused on is the letter they tell you to solve for. So you're going to treat these equations just like you treat any equations. You're going to work away from the variable you're looking for, and you're going to always do the opposite, and you're just going to solve. Okay, except this time your answers won't be like x equal 5 or something. It'll be whatever variable you're looking for equal to a lot of other stuff. So in this first one here, we've got, it wants us to solve for A. Then the next one wants us to solve for B. And then wants us to solve for H. So I'm going to focus on the first one here, solving for A. You see, I already got it highlighted here. Okay. And I'm going to solve for it like it was X on a regular equation. And I see that the A is being divided by D, so you always do the opposite. What is the opposite of division? You multiply. So we're going to multiply by D, and if you want to, you could put it over 1. And then on the right side here, we're going to multiply by D as well, okay? And we end up with the D's canceling out, leaving with A equal, just like we normally have X equal. I meant to change colors back, change back to black here. You have A is equal to G times D, and you have G times D, or you can have DG. Either way works. And that's it. That's your answer. These are one step. You're just going to go opposite to the letter that they give you. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do now is pause the video and see if you can solve this. Remember, you got to do the opposite operations. Okay. So let's take a look at these two right here. And what we're going to do is going to go opposite from B. So B plus D. So the B is being added to D. So you do the opposite by minusing D. And you're going to minus D on both sides. Now notice how the B or the D's will cancel out. And that's going to leave with just B on this side. And make sure, don't make this mistake, make sure you use the same thing. If it has a lowercase b, use a lowercase b. If it's uppercase, use uppercase. Okay, now this 8 minus D, you can't really do that. So all you gotta do is just write it just like it says, 8 minus D. And that's the answer. That's it. All right, let's take a look at this last example here where we're going to solve for H. Well, the H is being multiplied by J. So what do? Well, the opposite of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide by uppercase J on both sides. Okay, the J's are canceled out over here, leaving us with just H. And then we're going to bring down this whole thing. You can't really divide M into J. We don't know what those numbers are. So you're just going to write M over uppercase J. All right. Now that is single step literal equations. Now the next thing we're going to do is change standard form into slope-intercept form. Okay. And I don't want to go into all details about what standard form and slope-intercept form is, because that's for a later lesson. But I will tell you that what we want to do here on every single one of these is solve for y. So these are just like little equations, except they don't tell you what to solve for. But I'm telling you what to solve for. When you see this, it says converted to slope-intercept. What you want to do is solve for y. Solve for y. So let's take a look at some examples. All right, so it says put the following equation of the line into slope-intercept form, simplifying all fractions. Okay, so if you have a fraction, you're gonna simplify it as best you can, but we'll worry about that later. First, we want to solve for y, and that's how you put it in slope-intercept form. So I'm gonna highlight the y right here and work away from it. So the first thing I want to do is get rid of this negative 4x and get it away from the 2y. So I'm going to do that by adding, matter of fact, I'm change colors here. I'm going to add 4x on both sides. Okay. All right. Now, when I do that, this will cancel out, and that's going to allow me to bring this 2y down. So I got 2y is equal to, now, you could put 16 plus 4x, but for slope-intercept, I want to put the 4x first. So I'm going to put 4x up here. And since the 16 is positive, I'm going to put positive 16. All right. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is solve for y. So I'm going to continue to solve for y, and I'm going to highlight it again right here. I want to get this y by itself. So what's going on here? Well, what's going on is since it is multiplied, I'm going to do the opposite and divide by 2 so that my 2's cancel out, leaving me with just y. But this 2 needs to divide by every term over here. Okay, it's kind of like distribution, where you multiply against every term, except we're going to divide. And we're going to divide by 2 on both of these. All right, now, when we do that, what we're going to do is we're going to cancel out the 2's. That's going to bring down the y. And then we're going to have 4 over 2x plus 16 over 2. That's just division. So we're going to do 4 over 2. Now, sometimes it doesn't divide evenly and gets you a decimal. If it gets you a decimal, leave it as a fraction and try to simplify it. But 4 over 2 divides. So you end up 4 divided by 2 is 2. So you got 2x. And then 16 divided by 2 is 8. So that's going to leave you y is equal to 2x plus 8. And that's it. You went from standard form to slope-intercept form. All you have to do, again, is solve for y. Okay, go ahead and pause the video here and see if you can solve both of these right here. All right, let's take a look at the first one. All right, so on this one, they kind of move the x over in a different spot, but you still do the same thing. You make sure that you solve for y, okay? So I'm going to highlight it again, and I have y here, and I'm going to subtract the x on both sides, okay? And remember, there's an understood 1x here, okay? So these are cancel out, leaving us with, on the line here, 4y. In fact, I'm going to write it down, just get a little space. 4x is equal to this negative 1x plus 24. Oh, this shouldn't be X. I'm sorry. This should be Y. Okay. And then next, I am going to divide by 4. And remember, you're going to divide on each term. Okay. Now the 4's to cancel out. You get Y is equal to -1/4. And you can't reduce it, and you can't just divide it. So you just leave it as -1/4. X. Okay. And then you do the 24 divided by 4, and that comes out even, which is 6. Okay, now on this next one, what we're going to do is we're going to continue to solve for y. It's in the same spot as it was last time here. Okay, and we're going to subtract the 4x away on both sides. Remember, these can't go because they're not like terms. You can't just combine them. All right, so that's going to be the 4's will cancel out. Bring down 2y is equal to, I'm going to put the -4x first, -4x minus, because it's -18, like that. And then the next thing I'm going to do is divide by 2 all the way across. That's going to leave me with a y is equal to, and remember, if this is a fraction, leave it as a fraction if you can't simplify it. But here you can. Negative divided by a positive is a negative, and 4 divided by 2, meant to change colors, but oops. All right, bring the x down. And then negative divided by a positive is a negative, and 18 divided by 2 is 9. So now, as long as you've got that coefficient in front of the x there, you got the constant on the back end, and everything is solved for y, it's in slope-intercept form, okay? I'll go over that later, but this is what you consider the y-intercept, and this is what you consider the slope, okay? So that's slope-intercept form. But that's it. That is solving literal equations and converting standard into slope-intercept form. I want to thank you for checking out Mr. Ware's videos. Have a nice day.